Good morning, Ethan.
Morning, John.
And you and I are following up on your interview for the Online Dispute Resolution Cyberweek 2016 program on ODR and community conflict. And we're going to discuss your forthcoming book this morning, Digital Justice, Technology, and the Internet of Things. Internet of Things. Now, that was a Freudian slip, and I'm going to guess I'll just leave this in because you've made a point of calling this the Internet of Disputes, and you might pursue that a little bit when you get your turn here. And as moderator of the Cyberweek program that this is connected to, I'm going to reintroduce Ethan for those of you who are joining us at this point in time. Ethan is Professor Emeritus in Legal Studies at the University of Massachusetts, director of its National Center for Technology and Dispute Resolution, as well author of many books on the intersection of technology and dispute resolution, as well, in addition, founder, at least in the opinion of many, of online dispute resolution. That was some years ago. And now, with all that experience, you're coming forward with a book, and you're in the midst of working on the final, galleys at this point in time. And that's Digital Justice, and I'm going to say it right this time, Technology and the Internet of Disputes. For the Cyberweek program on online dispute resolution and community conflict, let's go back to conflicts in social media. And let's talk about how interaction in social media can become more harmonious.
Well, what we label social media can also be labeled anti-social media because these forms of communication, these groups of individual exchanging information can be social in the sense of encouraging and helping to develop relationships. The internet, excuse me, the internet actually, at least for the last 20 years, has encouraged communication among people. So, 1992, when the web became more popular, the internet actually started in 1969, but was limited to use by academics and the military. But when large-scale growth started in the 90s, I think fairly quickly it became both a social and anti-social media. And in our book, we do write a short history of what we perceive to be the relationship between disputes and the internet. And there were many in the 1990s, but also it provided an opportunity, particularly through listservs, for people to get to know other people who lived in different parts of the world. So it was both social and anti-social. These days, social media, so-called, encourage billions, literally, to exchange, to form relationships with one another. I think that's at the heart of social media, to exchange relationships. Whenever you have relationships, some percentage of those relationships are going to fall apart. Sometimes they're intentional acts, sometimes it's unintentional. But we need to have systems in place to help deal with those conflicts. And I think gradually, even the large platforms, Facebook, Airbnb, and Uber, gradually those platforms are recognizing that they hurt their business if they don't have mechanisms for resolving disputes. So I think we're in a transition period. If you look at the terms of service for these companies, which obviously no one reads, all of them say that the company or the platform is not responsible for any disputes that happen. They all still require arbitration, mandatory arbitration clauses, even though nobody ever uses those the process of arbitration to resolve those disputes. AT&T had over 100 million users last year. They had something like 30 or fewer arbitrations So, but I think that's a transition. I think these companies will learn that disputes are not good for them and that they have to be engaged in helping to resolve them.
So, for example, and then I'll ask you about others. For example, eBay deploys a rating system where purchasers rate the vendors, and then the vendors turn around and rate the purchasers. And what is the impact of that on their behavior, the behavior of the vendors and purchasers?
I think eBay was the first to recognize that they really needed to do something about disputes that occurred, because disputes, if there are more disputes, users perceive more risk. And the last thing users want to do is engage in a process that holds the possibility of risk. They're so risk averse that if some entity on eBay has a rating of 97 or 96% positive, that may not be good enough. In the real world, that sounds terrific. 96% safe, risk-free. But online, if you want people to participate in your process, you have to almost guarantee them that disputes won't occur. And the rating system was very effective in doing that. On the other hand, rating systems can be gamed, and a lot of people don't trust rating systems, and that's a big challenge for those companies. It's easy to put up a rating system. It's not so easy to persuade users that your rating system is actually reflecting accurately the experience of users.
Would you share an overview of your book as it relates to our topic of conversation today?
Yeah. Well, first of all, the book is Digital Justice, Technology and the Internet of Disputes. As you mistakenly said earlier, or reasonably said earlier, it's a riff on the Internet of Things. The Internet of Things is going to be a big generator of disputes, because the Internet of Things links together everything. Our refrigerators, our washing machines, our watches, our phones, our heating systems. That can be summarized by saying the Internet of Things is an extraordinarily complex development, and complexity alone generates disputes, because there are just more things that can go wrong. If you link up two computers, some things can go wrong. If you link up computers, washing machines, phones, watches, and all those things, there's more things that can go wrong. So I don't know if the title resonates with others, but that was what we had in mind. Before I forget, the book will be out in March. Oxford University Press is publishing it. At some point in the next few months, it will be on Amazon, or you can check odr.info, which is our website for things in ODR, and we will put up information about the book there. I should note as well that in the same time frame, another book on ODR called The New Handshake by Colin Rule and Amy Schmitz will also be published, and both of those books are actually going to be discussed at the American Bar Association section on dispute resolution meeting in April in San Francisco. That's the end of the plug for this. And I've forgotten your in the meanwhile. I've just about forgotten your question.
Well, actually, you did get into the question, and that was just the overlay between what's going on in your book and this matter of the social media and the framework of your book. And I was just thinking that there's probably some other themes that are covered in your book that would be of interest to our audience as well.
Yeah, so I think actually the overall theme is one of access to justice, or at least that's one of the main themes. And we look at that, as I said earlier, we do look at the history of online dispute resolution, but we also look at 4 or 5 areas in which disputes are increasing and appearing. And opportunities exist for resolving those disputes. So those involve e-commerce, which eBay is the prime example, healthcare, and electronic health records. And really, ODR is an opportunity to help resolve disputes over all kinds of records that are being generated about us. Everybody's maintaining records, credit reports, health records, ratings, and so forth. So we have a chapter about electronic health records and disputes. We have a chapter about social media and a chapter about labor and employment, and also a chapter about the courts. So we look at all of those, each of those areas as to how they generate disputes, how they resolve disputes. And I think one of the things we emphasize that's not really emphasized very much elsewhere is how to prevent these disputes, how to design systems to try to prevent disputes.
Well, that's really going to be a good read, and so I will make sure that as we get our own little discussion group following the Cyberweek program, to get some more detail on your book into that conversation. So that'll be a place to check out as well. And just checking out, I think that I've kind of wrapped it up. And unless there's something else you might want to chime in at the conclusion of the program.
No, this is very interesting. I should note that Cyberweek started in 1997. So next year is the 20th anniversary of this. Obviously, it's evolved greatly. We at the National Center for Technology and Dispute Resolution at UMass started this in 1997. It's evolved over time, and we are grateful to ADR Hub and Creighton and the dispute resolution program there for taking this on a few years ago. And obviously, we didn't have this kind of video 20 years ago, and
No, it's pretty snazzy.
doing this morning actually seemed very easy. There's a lot of complexity behind all of this, but to be able to do this on a Sunday morning, kind of miraculous. So thanks a lot,
All right.
John.
Thank you very much.